we've talked about this, you and I, before. We talked about this with Dale before. We might have talked about this with Dale 2 times because he's been on our show so many times. We love you, Dale. Dan Lanning has now been smashed in 2 playoff games in back-to-back years, Ryan. They lost in the Rose Bowl last year, 41-21, and now in the Peach Bowl. Does the big game question still linger for Dan Lanning to you?
See, that's hard for me to say because I think this year for Oregon, like we talked about this a little bit last year with Penn State and James Franklin, that it was kind of the perfect storm to create every single take that you can conceivably concoct for him, because the Penn State fans were sitting there saying, okay, well, we made it to the semifinals. We made it to the Big Ten title game. Like, this was a step forward for us. Meanwhile, the James Franklin detractors were sitting there saying, well, you still lost to Oregon, and then you got gift-wrapped a cakewalk draw to the semifinals. That didn't prove anything. I think that's kind of Oregon this year with their schedule, right? Like, their regular season schedule was not good, and it didn't help. I mean, it looked fine. It looked good coming into the season, right? Like, it didn't certainly age well the way that they played against Penn State and then what happened to Penn State after. And I don't think that's any fault of their own. That was them more or less breaking the Penn State football program's will to exist in its current form. So I think you got to give them at least a little bit of credit for that. You know, they struggled against Iowa, but Iowa's a really good football team. And I think I wrote this comment on an Athletic article. Like, people were gassing up Missouri and Tennessee all year. What's the fundamental difference between Tennessee and Missouri and Iowa? They're basically Iowa with better PR.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fundamental difference between those programs. If you're going to sit here and try to gas up Tennessee for being a top 25 team when they didn't beat a soul worth mentioning all year, why is Iowa not getting that same respect? That's still a good football team. You know, they beat USC this year at home. That was a good USC football team, but really their only game of consequence this year, they lost, and they lost to that team twice, and they lost more embarrassingly the second time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the answer is here. I don't have his record against top 25 teams off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's pretty good. But he kind of had this same problem when DeBoer was at Washington, right? Like, he kept losing to him. I don't know.
I mean, I think you can put in, certainly, he came in and dominated the Big Ten year one and won a Big Ten championship. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
But people are all about, what have you done for me lately? And they didn't make the Big Ten championship this year because they lost to Indiana at home. And then when they did get their rematch against them, they got absolutely bludgeoned. And now, winning a playoff game over Texas Tech is a step in the right direction, because you didn't win one last year, but you didn't make it any further than you were last year because you still lost. No. You made it one step further. I'm sorry. You had to win 2 playoff games. I'm completely dismissing JMU. I'm sorry, James Madison fans.
Kirk, you tell him.
That wasn't right of me. They won 2 playoff games this year. You made it one step further than last year, but I don't know. How much credit do people give them for beating JMU, a team they felt like shouldn't have been there, in the Texas Tech, when people constantly shit on the Big 12 and say the Big 12 doesn't belong anyways?